You're listening to the Smart Women in Business podcast, episode number 41. Hello, you're listening to the Smart Women in Business podcast. My name is Jane Mackay from Jane Mackay Communications, and on this show, we talk to smart women in business all over the world about starting, building, and creating the life and business of your dreams, while having incredibly honest, in-depth, and rich conversations with amazing women in business who will inspire you to become a smart woman in business. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Smart Women in Business vlog and podcast. I'm your host, Jane Mackay from Jane Mackay Communications, marketing consultant and coach who works with women across the world to build the business of their dreams. Today, I am talking to Monica Schrock. Monica is a cautiously optimistic, introverted copywriter and marketing consultant with a mean coffee habit and a serious nerd streak, living in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. Monica revels at the intersection between integrity and strategy, hoping to make the world a better place one word at a time. Monica has spent the last 14 years navigating the extroverted field of marketing, helping over 200 clients craft their brand message and increase their sales or donations from double to over 10 times. Monica's true joy lies at the moment she gets to craft a message that captures the essence of why a movement, organization, or brand was created. She helps rebelliously mission-driven, introverted folks make a full-time income with their service-based business without the pressure of acting introverted through inclusive marketing and messaging that feels good to them. Welcome to the show, Monica. I love your intro.
Oh, thanks, Jay. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
It's I feel introverted, but most people perceive me as an extrovert. So it's an interesting thing, us marketers, because I went to CopyCon recently. Well, recently, I say that. Feels like recently, but the last time I went to an event and talking to all the copywriters in the room, we're all introverts, but marketing is such an extroverted space. So tell me about your business journey, because no doubt it touches on that.
Absolutely. And I can relate to you on that fact where people always think I'm actually or they perceive me as extroverted. Outgoing is what they perceive me as, and I am outgoing, but I don't process energy as an extrovert does. People drain me. I think that's the misconception, right? Is people think that introverts are stereotypically shy or socially awkward or don't like to talk to people.
Yeah.
But yeah.
In fact, we just want to have a lie down when we've done too much peopling.
Exactly. And when we're really excited about something like copywriting or marketing or the thing we actually enjoy, we're very chatty.
Tell me about your business journey. How did you get to where you are now?
Yeah. Oh man, it's been a journey for sure. So I went to school for marketing back in 2005. And it was one of those things. I went to college. I got a basketball scholarship for a little while. And they asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Still don't know.
Still don't know. I'm doing it. I'm playing basketball. But they're like, yeah, but what do you actually want to do? And I was like, okay, well, I'm not 6 feet. So you're probably right. I should probably decide what I actually want to do. So I didn't really know what to pick. I like history, I like art, all these things, but I was super practical. Monica in the moment at like 18 years old was super practical. And I thought, well, I can read a history book anytime. So what should I do that's going to be really helpful for me in the future? And I was like, business is always pretty lucrative for people. And this is a total like teenager kind of thing, right? Just like, I don't know, people tend to do well in business. Marketing seems like the least boring part of that situation. That was my whole thought process on this entire thing. And I was like, I'll choose marketing. Yeah. And it stuck. I mean, I didn't know if it would stick, but I really enjoyed it. I had a really great university experience where I had like professors who were CMOs of like Dunkin' Donuts and Home Depot, and we're just like teaching for fun,
Just on the side.
The side for fun. But it was a really great opportunity. And it was a school that didn't have a lot of like clout or, historically wasn't like a prestigious school, which like I think would seem like a disadvantage, but actually it became an advantage because we were able to go out into, I am from California, but I went to school in Texas, into the Dallas area, and actually write marketing plans and do things for like local businesses. So it was a very cool experience. And then I graduated and moved back to my home state of California and decided I was going to move to Los Angeles instead of the Bay Area where I'm from, and graduated in 2008 in the US, what was rather large recession.
Yeah. You guys did it really tough.
It was really tough. So finding a marketing job was near impossible. So I'd been serving tables since I was like 16 years old. So I moved to LA and was serving tables, and it kind of became apparent to me that I wasn't going to find a full-time marketing job. And I had this idea in my head that I was going to do marketing for good. I didn't really know what that meant at that point, and what it meant to me was probably a nonprofit, which is what I started in, but it took a while for me to get there. So immediately I was like, okay, LA is this type of town where it's super scrappy and people are just kind of like doing things and paying people to do things. So I just kind of started out freelance, like right out of college. I just started taking projects. I'm a millennial that came up in college with social media and marketing. Everyone wanted social media because it was the thing in 2008. So I just kind of started taking freelance projects. And so I've had a business since I was 22, but didn't really treat it like a legit business until like a few years ago. I was just like, I'm a marketing freelancer, which is great, and I think is super legit. But I wasn't actually thinking about like the sustainability of it or anything, or like what my structure would be or how I scale it or any of the things that I've thought about in the last few years. So I kind of came up the next few years in LA just taking on projects for businesses, for nonprofits, getting a few full-time jobs, you know, as I went, for like an environmental nonprofit, an animal rights nonprofit, a breast cancer nonprofit. But I was in LA and everything was super expensive, and those nonprofit salaries didn't pay enough for me to live there. So
they don't tend to, no.
Yeah. Sometimes they're like, oh, but you're helping. I'm like, yeah, but I also, you know, got to eat.
Yeah. Got to pay bills.
Got to pay bills.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's so hard. It's so hard. So I always had a business on the side. And I think for years, because of that idea in my head of like, I want to do marketing for good, which in my head meant that I couldn't do it for for-profit businesses. Like that's what it was happening in my mind. And I learned over the years that whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit, it's a case-by-case basis on whether someone's being a little more manipulative than I'd like them to be, or use it, or being.
It's a tricky thing.
Yeah. And it's not always like for-profit businesses are bad, nonprofits are good. That's not a black and white situation.
Whole
complexity
in there.
A lot of complexity. So I was like, oh, for-profit businesses aren't the enemy, and I can like do a lot of good, like helping people who are like great and are serving people in a really great way. So I started kind of branching out into for-profit and just like, you know, kept kind of flexing that muscle, kept getting, you know, projects under my belt, different types of copywriting experience under my belt. And it was really just a like trial by fire all the time, learning as I went, because marketing evolves so quickly, so fast, wildly, so fast. Yeah.
I've been in marketing since 2002 when the internet was starting to be a thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, could never have envisioned where we are now. Like, it's wild.
It's wild. It's so wild. Like I remember starting social media channels for like organizations and brands. And then now it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so, but yeah, it's been such a journey. And I think I started a product-based business for myself, like a vegan body care business. I saw that. Yeah. Blog. Yeah. I had a lot of things, and I was trying to like trick myself into thinking marketing wasn't the thing that I loved, even though I started all these like brands and projects because I liked starting things and branding them and marketing them. And then I was like, cool, I'm good.
Objects.
Yes. I was like, cool, I'm good. That was fun. I'm going to go do something else now. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I actually love doing this. Yeah. And I should keep doing this for other people and not keep like starting these little things when I get bored and I just want to like brand and market something.
Are you even a millennial if you don't have a side hustle?
Right. Are you a millennial in LA if you don't have like 4 jobs? No. But yeah, in the last like few years, so basically when this all like popped off in me realizing this was I moved from LA 3 years ago because I was done with the hustle, you could say, but just done with like working all the time and never getting ahead. And I knew that LA, even though I love it so much as a city, was just like, if I'm not in the industry there, the entertainment industry, it really didn't make much sense for me to stay. And I turned 30 and I was just like, had this moment not about being old. My moment was about where I was like financially, what I wanted to do with my life. And I'm like, cool, I'm 30 and that's awesome. It feels awesome. But like, what do I actually want to do? Like, where do I actually want this to go? And had that like kind of moment, that reflection, and moved to the Pacific Northwest because we wanted like seasons and better weather and less cost of living, and made a really intentional choice.
Trying to work out where that is. Is that like Seattle? That far
Seattle.
north?
So I'm outside of Portland. So yeah, under Seattle, a couple hours, but yeah. In another similar like city. And yeah, and I was just like, oh, I love marketing. And what, as a true marketer, I was like, what differentiates me in this space? Like,
what's my unique selling point?
Yeah, what's my USP? What came to mind then is I don't see a lot of people talking about like introverts running businesses and the challenges around that. And I just kind of started an Instagram account, another one of those like little projects, right?
For fun. A little bit of a handle, just throw it out there.
Throw out a little handle. It's not a business. It's just a, like self-expression situation. And it turns out a lot of people were resonating with it. And I was like, oh, like, I think this might be, because I think the misconception sometimes in business is that you are going to know your niche right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like you're going to know.
And it will never change.
It'll never change. And so I was like, oh, here it is. Like, this is the thing. Like, I can help introverts like me.
Yeah.
Like, be able to do marketing in a way that doesn't like suck the life out of us, and still be able to have a sustainable business and the low key life we want to have, where we don't have to be on and out there all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think there's an association between marketing and sales.
Yeah.
And marketing's very back end, very much the tools to make the sales easier. Whereas sales is like out there, and people mix the two up and then go, oh my God, you're in marketing. That sounds so full on. And I'm like, no, I never see people.
I don't see people. And it is that because you'll look at like categories of things and they'll be like marketing and sales. And
I'm like, no, totally not me.
It's not the same thing.
Totally not the same.
No.
So,
but like the catalyst too was I came up here and I had a full-time job still, and they had layoffs, and I was one of the people that got laid off. And I was like, okay, I could keep doing this cycle where I get a salary that's not really something that could sustain me, and I keep doing freelance on the side, or I could just like give this a real go. Not that any of it wasn't a real go, but less supplemental and more like, let's do this.
Well, it's that whole thing of not putting pressure on yourself to actually make it a real job.
Right.
But I've been doing this for 12 years, and people like freelancing. Yeah. Still call it freelancing. 12 years. Yeah. And people go, I saw this job. And I'm like, what would make you think I want a job?
Yeah. What of this 12 years of track record would make you think that's my goal? You think I just haven't had a job for 12 years because I just like desperately want one, but never
sitting here watching Netflix.
Yeah. It's never come up, the whole job thing. So I've just,
so odd. So, being a millennial and multiple side hustles, how do you manage your life with your whole, because I love how values driven you are. Like, I looked at your website, saw your about page, and obviously you have a lot more going on in your life than just your job.
Yeah.
So how do you manage your life? For everyone who's listening to this and not watching the YouTube, we're doing inverted commas around the word job.
That's amazing. I forgot about that.
They're like, why are they laughing so much?
They're laughing. We're air quoting things pretty constantly. And I think the turning point, not a turning point, but I think what I used to do is I'm like, there's activist Monica and there's like freelance business Monica. And I never really was able to, as you heard in my like prior story where it's like marketing for good, I was never able to really separate the two necessarily, but I didn't so much invite it into my messaging as much as I've like leaned into now, where it's like, this is actually a huge tool that I've been using this whole time, but actually could more like actively talk about how commerce and business in a way that aligns with like our values can make a huge difference in the world. Because commerce and marketing, like I've done some research into this, and like not a lot, but just because I want to know, because capitalism in the form that it is, at least in the United States, is like not sustainable and it's harming a lot of people. But commerce is not necessarily capitalism, and neither is marketing. So I'm like, how can we do this in a way that will, create access and better lives for people instead of just manipulating them into,
buying shit
hating
they don't
ourselves.
need.
Yeah.
It was one of my things when I went into marketing, is like, I don't ever want to feel like I'm coercing people or manipulating people into buying shit they don't need, which is a whole lot of the marketing that we're exposed to as young people. And then when you actually get into it, you're like, hey, like from my perspective now, selling is a service because the people that I work with are making other people's lives better. So if I help them sell more of their stuff, which is service, I'm amplifying my effect for good.
Yes, exactly.
So that's us marketers for good.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
It doesn't have to be nonprofit. It can be for profit.
It can definitely be for profit, because the more, well, for me, I work almost exclusively with women, is that the more women we lift up collectively, the more we're helping them get out of shitty financial situations or trapped in relationships, or all the stuff that's been holding women back for millennia.
Absolutely. And that's like, I think that was a big aha moment, was like, oh, I can combine these things, like regular life Monica, activist Monica, business Monica, since it's just me anyway. And just be like,
no one's writing this down in the KPIs.
Exactly. I don't have to track this. This is just me. So like, I can just like write it all down. And if people are down, if they're down for the noise, I'll work with them.
If they can handle me, I'm there.
There.
So how do you like every day? What does every day look like for you? Like, what's a really great day in the office look like for you? How do you like manage your life?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is a lot of people ask like scheduling things and like blocking time and things like that. I am not a planner.
Me either. Yeah. Just quietly, everybody.
Yeah, quietly. I'm like always like, this is embarrassing. I feel embarrassed because all the like, things I got in my head was like plan. And I write marketing, I call them playbooks for people because plans seem a little too etched into stone for me.
They evolve.
They're working documents. They're alive, and especially with the last year we've had, in the world, but especially in America, like I was helping people with marketing and content, and we had to evolve. I mean, pivot was the word, right? But just like, we had to adjust and evolve what we were doing like almost monthly, daily, because things were just happening and you couldn't just go along with business as usual. No way. With my like scheduling, I'm just like, dude, I'm not a planner. I'm just kind of a go with the flow person.
I have deadlines and they're concrete, but how I approach those deadlines depends on where I'm at. Like mentally, sometimes I just want to do creative stuff or writing or designing.
Sometimes it's hard.
It's really hard. I have to do all my copywriting in the morning because it's when my brain is the freshest. Although you drink coffee all day, I only have one a day, and that's in the morning.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So I do like writing in the morning, but I also I'll write mostly in the afternoon or evening because, well, one, because I'm on the West Coast, and a lot of the times, like in the United States, I have a lot of East Coast Central clients, so they are hours ahead of me.
Oh, so, right.
So then it's like later for them. I can't have afternoon calls, so I like having calls in the morning so I can not anticipate having calls in the afternoon and just like let myself go into whatever creative direction after I'm done peopling. If I have to people.
It is a verb.
Yes, it is a verb. So yeah, for me, it's like, I like to wake up early if I can like drink my coffee and go out on the porch and enjoy whatever weather the Pacific Northwest is giving us that day. And read a comic book before I can do any work.
I saw you worked at a comic book shop.
I did. I
used to go out with a guy who lived above a comic book shop. So
I love comics, like escapism to the max for me. I love it so much. I've loved them since I was a kid, and it just kind of like sparks that creative, like getting lost in in another world. And I love starting days off like that. And I'm not a big call person, so calls aren't really a part of my packages. I'm like, we get an intro call and then we review. And so I'm really just like writing all day, strategizing all day. the days with less calls and more like writing and more thinking, because I think the thing is people think, oh, well, you just have to write. And it's like, oh, but I have to do a lot of thinking.
No, so much thinking.
Yeah. And a lot of like not thinking. So ideas will flow into my head.
There's a whole element of being creative that involves not being creative. Like,
yeah,
I could write an entire blog post hanging out washing.
Yes.
Like, apparently Americans don't hang out washing. You guys use dryers, which was a weird thing I heard the other day. Anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, write a whole blog post, and then I get back inside and go, what was that?
Exactly.
I end up taking my phone with me and doing voice to text.
Oh, yes. My notes app is like full of random thoughts.
Well, I was going to say, what tools do you use? And if you're not a planner, like, I'm not a planner. I'm not an Asana. I'm not a Trello. I'm an Airtable to a degree. But so what tools do you voice to text?
Yeah, voice to text. My notes app is just full of ideas, full of like, this is my like philosophy and approach, like full of profound moments.
I'm just going to update my website.
Yeah. Again. Which that website is like brand new, like not even launched yet.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like it's finally the culmination of like myself and the introvert kind of like lens of marketing that I created and putting those two things together, because I kept them separate for so long. So that feels really good. I feel very grounded in that, which is a really good feeling. But tools, so, website is there, but I used Dubsado. I love Dubsado for clients. That's a great tool, especially for like me pushing a button and then workflows happening, and I can just like get paid and get contracts and not have to like worry about any of that.
All that automation.
Yeah, automation for a non-planner is really good.
Helps us not do anything, really.
Yeah, exactly. I have Kajabi also, because I have a membership for introverts, and there's like a course in there for them. And I love Kajabi. I use the email marketing in there. So that's a great tool. And then I also have a writer that helps me when I'm overloaded, and we use Trello. So
there you go.
I'm not like a planner, but I am a pretty good project manager. So that I've started to own a little bit more.
Activist and project manager.
Yeah, because as a creative, I'm like, ooh, I'm not a project manager, but then
I'm free flow, man.
Yeah, I'm totally free flow. But then if I don't know like kind of what's happening, I'm like, this is too free flow for me.
We're very disorganized and frightened right now.
Yeah. Frightened of like, do my clients know what's happening? Do I know what's happening? So I definitely like have timelines. Like you were saying, you have deadlines. The deadlines are hard. The timelines are there. But how I get there is like completely up to me. Which
I can dip in and out.
Exactly.
And sometimes you're really efficient at writing. Sometimes writing, you can just smash it. Totally. And other times you're like, one sentence. Oh, I've done it. Oh, I hate those days.
Sit there because it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
And you can't push it. And you have to so how do you reset then when you're in that lack of creative flow?
Yeah. And just want to say for anyone listening who's like not a writer, just this happens to writers too. So it's not just you. We also have those moments. So what I'll do is go do something that has literally nothing to do with work. Because if I keep working, I'll keep thinking about that thing that I'm not writing. So I'm a basketball player, so I have a hoop in my driveway. So if I just go out, basketball for me is kind of like what people, the energy people get in the shower, where they're like, oh, yeah. I got that.
Okay. I relate now because I'm not a sport person.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. No, I feel like that's definitely a niche thing. Speaking of, but in a very Pacific Northwest thing, this is a basketball, like Portland's a basketball. Right. Yeah,
I've never been to the States, so.
Oh, right on. I mean, I've never been to Australia, and I want to go. I have a friend who lives in Portland, and I want to go so bad, and he's from Australia, so someday.
One day. Yeah.
You're not,
in
being
lockdown.
Irresponsible as an entire country, one of these days. But I will go play basketball, and like it's like one of those, basketball for me is one of those things like I said, the shower, where it's like I'll be playing and I'm completely thoughtless. Like one of the only moments in my life where I'm thoughtless.
My brain shuts
down, and it's like put ball in hoop, and I'm like totally. So I just like start doing that. So I reset with something like that. So if there's anything like that for anyone listening, like go to that if you can't write or can't be creative. Yeah, that's the
For me, like I can drop in out different, because I do multiple creative tasks. I can drop in and out of them, which is sort of my like I reward myself with web design at the end of the day, but I start with writing.
Yeah, I love that.
Or like for me, having a bad day, having a low moment, I meditate, and if I can't meditate, I nap.
I nap, exactly. I can't nap. It's just not something I can do, but I like to meditate. I'll do like a 3-minute stress meditation.
Yeah, it only has to be like 5 minutes. Yeah. See, I can't play basketball, but I'm like mean napper.
Yeah, exactly. And like my roommate, and also like someone I do business with, my best friend, she's just like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep. And for me, I'm like, I'll just lay there and be anxious. So I need to get that like, anxious energy out in something that's like, high key and not low key. yeah. So that's how I kind of get out of it. Or I'll just like put on a timer for 15 minutes and be like, just write a really crappy version of whatever this is. Just do it. Just start writing something crappy. And then usually I'm like, oh, this isn't crappy at all. And then 15 minutes come up and I'm like, I can keep going. That's cool.
I'm fine. Yeah, the first version is always going to be crappy, so it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. Exactly.
You never use the first draft.
No.
So
that's how I get out of it.
Sorry?
That's how I get out of it.
Yeah. It's fine. Cool. I just write a crap version and then go from there. So talking about ways to, so I always talk about imposter syndrome. Yeah. Because it's something that affects the vast majority of entrepreneurs I've ever spoken to, or self-employed humans. How do you respond to that and the bad days in business? Because we all have them, apart from resetting and going in basketball and.
Yeah, apart from that, yeah. Sometimes basketball just won't get rid of that. Sure. Yeah, the imposter syndrome, that's a hard one, right? And social media, I feel like being, we've both kind of like been through the entire evolution of that up till this point. And it definitely can be a hindrance to getting through that. That's for sure. And so I don't really go on social media all that much. I did it for people for a long time. I'm very familiar with it, but part of it is I'm not going to look at what other people are doing, because that just tends to distract me and question if I'm doing the thing I should be doing, or if my way is the way, and it's like, I never questioned it until I saw someone else's way. Or like,
you're like, oh, I felt really happy, and then I looked at this and now I don't.
Yeah, now I'm like, is this wrong? And so I try not to. I'll go in there intentionally and support people that I want to support and engage with people that I really like, but I don't like to just scroll and see what other people in marketing and business are doing, because that kind of just like throws me off track. So that helps a lot. And then also, I have a little like folder. Now I have a really awesome testimonial section on my new website.
Yeah. But come back to your testimonials.
Exactly. So I have a little folder with like screenshots of when people have like lost their mind because they were so, elated at what I did for them. And I just like kind of come back to that. And it really helps me be like, yeah, you're good. Like, and even if you're not for someone, that's also okay. Even if it doesn't work out, that's totally fine. So that's another thing that I do. And I also like remember, I ask myself when I'm feeling that imposter syndrome, because if I'm actually doing something that I enjoy or that feels good to me, I'm usually not feeling that imposter syndrome. So
when you're out of alignment, I reckon.
Yeah. And when I'm doing something maybe more, I feel like for introverts, it's really a thing, because we try to fit the box of like the extroverted entrepreneur, which is like fine. 100%. But is also not the only way. And then if you feel like an imposter in your own business because you're trying to do things that you're just you're not inclined to do, we can all do things that we're not inclined to do. But if you just don't enjoy it and you're dreading it every time, hate it,
if you've tried and you hate it, just don't do it.
No. Yeah. So I asked myself that question. I'm like, are you dreading this right now? Is that why you feel this way? And then I try not to do it again. If, finances permit and I can just stop doing it, then I just try not to do it.
Yes, the old finances.
I mean, that's a reality.
That is life. It's funny because I used to get really super nervous before doing these.
Yeah.
And I knew I just had to push through it. I knew it was a productive thing to do, and I knew it would help people, because I've had the most incredible conversations on here that people listen to, and they message me and go, oh my God, like, that was amazing. And I got so much out of it. And I'm like, I'm just got to push through it. And sometimes you do have to push through it. But other times you just, if you're dreading every second of it, like I did my corporate jobs,
right.
maybe find another way.
Maybe find another way. Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. Because it's like, yeah, if you're dreading it, then it's not the thing. Even if it's the thing everyone says you should do, if you are dreading it and it doesn't get easier after, I don't know, a few months of doing it, or then
Should is my least favorite word.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. We should not should all over ourselves. We're giving you permission. This is your permission slip to stop shoulding all over yourself.
Yes. I'm going to say that. I'm using that from now. I'm totally stealing that. So isolation is a big theme over the last 12 months, obviously, or 13 months. How do you maintain your sense of community? Obviously, activism would be a really good, like, yeah, smash the patriarchy. We're here together. Boom. Yeah.
Absolutely. Activism is a big one. I definitely have a business coach and have a like really great community from there, which has been really, really nice. And I've been with her for like 2.5 years almost. And like, that's been my only business coach. So that's been a great community of like a really nice, like human first vulnerable space where it's not just like we're entrepreneur machines or we're business machines. Like, it's like, how are you feeling?
Is anyone really like that? I don't know. They come across as that, and then you go, how could you live? Like,
yeah, because like I put this thing on my emails because I took which was another great space, trauma informed space holding training, which was so great, and put this thing on my emails where it was like, hey, like, you're a human before you're a business owner. Like, if you're going through some stuff, you don't have to answer this right away. Don't feel obligated.
I like that. That's beautiful.
Like, whatever you're feeling, whatever your energy's feeling. Because I think with emails, like, so particularly intense with the feeling that we need to respond really quickly.
I hate that pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. Yeah. And I've had so many people be like, oh my gosh, I love that thing in your signature. I'm like, yeah, put it in there. Let's all put it in there. Let's
also stealing that.
Maybe. Yeah, do it. Like, let's stop putting the pressure on each other to answer emails right away. And that like anxiety you get if you haven't in a little bit of time, and then you leave it there, and then it just gets longer and longer. And that kind of energy.
Oh, I've been there, and I don't know whether that is an introvert thing. Maybe extroverts just go, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think so. My best friend's an extrovert, and she's like said she's done the same thing.
Pressure.
Yeah, I think it's an anxiety thing, maybe.
Oh yeah, that could be true too.
Could be true. Yeah, we'll see. If anyone who doesn't have anxiety is like, no, it's still a thing. Maybe it's just an everyone thing.
Just ping me. Let me know, and I'll let Monica know.
Yeah. But yeah, that community and like activism for sure, and like basketball and like comics, but like everything that is an interest in my life, I have like built up a community over the years with, and just being able to tap into those communities, when it's been hard. And I'm lucky enough to, live with my boyfriend and my best friend. So we've been like, and that there have been, I mean, I'm sure as everyone knows in the last 13 months, sometimes being around people you really love for that much time can also be a little bit of a challenge, but
a little bit. I love you. but my husband and I decided that we married each other because we were the people that annoyed each other the least on earth.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. My boyfriend and I say that to each other all the time. It's so funny. We're like, you have things, but they don't annoy me. So it's all good.
A lot of your things annoy me, but not all of the things. So it's fine.
Not all the things. We're good.
And obviously you've got your membership too. So you can come together.
Yeah. We can come together, and that, such a great community of introverts supporting each other and just like cheering each other on. And in the last 12 months, it really has, like, sometimes it's like, we're like kind of a support group for each other more than like a brain trust for business. We're kind of like, let's just, this office hours for like supporting, and because that's what we need right now,
such a challenge.
Which is great because I think people sometimes just need to be held a little bit and be heard more than they need business advice. And I think sometimes the what we've been told to like add value, like isn't necessarily what people need or want all the time. Like sometimes they just want to be
a connection,
and that's value.
Sometimes people just want to have a conversation and have that. I was talking about how intimacy is the future of marketing, because people now have realized that because connection is one of our basic human needs.
Yeah.
You know, and that sense of community. And now people don't want this being shoved through someone's funnel. Now I'm in their evergreen funnel. Now I'm getting emails from them for the rest of my life. And it feels so removed. And now it's about that, okay, I want to work with you one-on-one. And it's completely shifted. I think that shift has been accelerated by the last 13, 14 months.
I think I 100% agree. And when this all started, I was like, because before I had helped people, been written those, evergreen emails for people, and they work, and, the funnels work. I mean, no matter how simple the funnel, it's a funnel at the end of the day. But
they work, and that, like, kudos to people that can make it work, but that's not aligned with who I am and how I deliver.
Exactly. And I think that's the great thing about it is, like, we don't have to do what everyone else is doing. Like, my coach is really high touch, and she has a funnel in a sense, but it's not an automation evergreen funnel. It's like,
not, this is my live webinar, and you go,
yeah,
live.
This is not live. You're hyping up people that you recorded this with. I know what you're doing. You're not answering anyone.
And that's that manipulation. Like, why isn't my question that's why my question's not being answered.
Yeah.
And that feels gross.
That feels gross. And I think connection, like, people with digital marketing, people were thinking connection was going away. I'm like, I don't think it ever went away. Most of my entire business, like I would say 98% of my business is referrals and partnerships.
Yeah.
Not social media, not evergreen funnels, not like, I have an email welcome sequence, but
it's not. I'm never actually going to connect with you as a person ever.
Exactly. Like, you're never going to meet me. I'll never even be in the support group that I'll
never actually be live with you ever. I hate that.
Yeah. I remember, like, someone was like, oh, you should do this. And I looked at programs and I was like, this is not me. Like, this is just, it's not,
I've seen a lot of programs coming. Sorry?
People are getting fed up with it.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of programs coming up lately that are very much, I'm going to very high touch. You will be live with me instead of the automation. And people are charging more for it. Fair enough. People are getting more out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because what's the I don't want to say failure rate, but like the non-completion rate for
non-completion,
98% or something. Yeah.
So, and people are realizing that now. It's like, you don't need to buy another program.
No.
$27 this, or a $47 that, or a $997 this. Maybe you just need to go, right, and I'm all in, and just be with someone who can take you through the process one-on-one. And I love that.
Exactly. I love that too.
You're going to get outcomes.
Yes. And I love being a consultant. For a while, people were like, you should be a coach. And I was like, no, I think there's a total, like, time and place for coaches. And it's an industry that has its, like, its ups and downs and pros and cons, but they are helping a lot of people. Some aren't. But I love, like, implementing and helping people just get somewhere and having a deliverable and having, like, ending a project and being like, all this stuff is in place for you. And it's just like, it's such a weird thing,
because I was having a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago, or a few people, about how I didn't want to call myself a coach, but then what I actually do is coaching, but then they still get an outcome. So I'm like, call myself a coach or not? Like,
it's so hard. It's so hard. I was just telling someone that, because I'm like, I went with consultant because ultimately I think it sums up more of what I do, but I also coach people in the process. I also strategize.
People understand coach, I think, more than they understand consultant on a one-to-one level.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a murky term.
It's definitely murky. I think, like, my what I tell people when they ask the difference is, like, I am definitely going to ask you probing questions. I'm definitely going to consider what you want before I, like, slap some strategies on the table. But I'm also going to, like, suggest what to do. I'm not going to be like, oh, here's some, like, some probing questions, some options, you figure it out. I'm going to be like, this is what I think would be best for you based on what you want, the results based on how you want to feel, based on what you're going for, the like kind of like amount of marketing you want to do on your own. And like, I can do it for you. So I think I try to tell people that's kind of the difference, where it's like, it's really like, I think people not being dependent is great, which is like the coaching part, right? And I think it's all hybrid now. Like I'm trying to like give people options and then implement some of those options with like email marketing and some automations and writing a playbook that they can like do for a year around the programs that they've created and that we've created. But then also, you know, have them be able to like, I guess, evolve those, like we were saying in the beginning, evolve that like marketing plan / playbook, or adjust it if something happens, and not need me to do that, but also like I can help them like get started and have a direction.
Yeah. And it's like, if you get 6 months down the track and you go, I'm having a freak out, I'm still going to be here.
I'm here.
Coach you through it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we can look over what's working and what's not. And then we can just adjust, you know? Yeah. So I think it's like, I think we're coming into like a new day of what coaching and consulting even means. Because when consulting is one of those old school words where you just think of like someone who gives you this, like, I don't know, like 60-page document that like cost you like tens of thousands of dollars.
That's just going to sit there, but I can tick that off that I've done it.
Yeah. Like in nonprofits, there's always like strategic planning processes, which still happens. And it's just these consultants that come in, and it's not that it's not valuable. It's just like, but I feel like there's a hybrid version of this where it actually gets used, where it doesn't have to be so like, I don't know, just prolific and too much and dull and jargony. Where it's like KPI, even though, you know, KPIs are important, but like, you know, marketers sometimes like to use these words that no one's going to understand.
LTVs. So what's your why? What keeps you motivated?
Oh, yeah. I think it was a little bit in my intro, is that I just, you know, the moment, I mean, I love stoking out introverts and showing them that they can do things differently. Ooh, like that's a huge why for me, because, you know, a lot of times there's like, you see the same advice everywhere. And I have like people I work with that are like, well, how did you decide to do it like this? I was like, well, I just decided to do it like that. And like, exactly. And being like, you know, like marketing, like someone told me, someone that I was working with the other day was like, so you're saying, and this is definitely like, you know, a little bit of an oversimplification, but we were going through things that we were going to do with her, like, you know, email automations and like her marketing. And she was like, so what you're saying is marketing is really just like trying things and adjusting it over time. I'm like, yeah.
It's making data-driven decisions. That's how I like it. Right?
Yeah. Data-driven decisions. Once you have data in the beginning, you're kind of just trying. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm like, we're definitely doing things based on what we're seeing. But it's like, yeah. And so, you know, I love capturing the essence of why something was creative. Like brand messaging is one of my favorite things. And it's what I do for clients before we start the marketing process, if it's something that they don't have yet. And when they kind of get to brain dump on, you know, in a call or on a form, and I create something in there, that phrase, like you put into words something that I've never been able to say, that's like kind of my why. That's why I do it, because I'm like, that's amazing. I get to use my gift so you can use your gift.
Yeah. And amplify that impact. Us back-end marketing people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what are your top tips for all smart women in business across the world?
Ooh, top tips. Oh man. I mean, I think one of my top tips is like, I don't know, remember that you're a human before you're a business owner. And people who are women, who are socialized as women, because I'm a non-binary person and queer gender, but socialized as a woman, you know, we often put, and not just we, like society, but also we put the pressure on ourselves that we have to be and do everything. So I think, you know, top tips is know that you're human and it's okay if you don't get to everything, and you can go at your own cadence and your own speed and your own frequency and whatever that looks like, and not based on someone else's timeline or what they're selling as a timeline to be a 6-figure entrepreneur or whatever.
Just read everyone's bio on Clubhouse. And
yeah, you don't have to do that. Yeah. You know, and, you know, I mean, I think also is just like, you can also ask for help, because I think a lot of us will sit back, and I don't think I know, we'll sit back and compare ourselves and tell ourselves we're not doing enough. And, you know, being in a space where we talk to other entrepreneurs and then realize that everyone's kind of feeling that way, we are all like, oh.
Turns out they are my people.
Turns out they are my people. And like, I would never say to myself, like, I don't tell other people who are feeling that way what I tell to myself when I'm feeling that way. It's like, you know, like, well, what would you tell a friend if they were feeling the way you were feeling? And that you can ask for help, and that you can, you know, work with people who do the same thing that you do. And it's not a competition. It's like, can be really great. And it can be like, they could even be like, I have a writer that helps me, and I'm just like, you know, what if they were better than me? That would be awesome. That would be amazing.
That would really help my business.
That would be, yeah, that would really help my business. So I think, yeah, like remembering you're human first, and you don't have to do all the things, which is part of what I love helping people like not do the most. I don't want that people to have pressure of being extroverted and not being themselves, or doing the most in their business, because I don't, you know, we didn't get into business to like drain ourselves like a 9-to-5 does. So
yeah, you don't want to be an employee in your business, for sure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself, and be kind to your contractors. So
yeah, by the way, guys,
added note, your contractors are fired. All copywriters and designers and web developers and everyone that's been digitizing everyone for the last year are tired. So be kind to them too. Yeah.
So how can listeners find out more about you and your work on your new shiny website?
My new shiny website. Yeah, you can go to unsociallyinclined.com, where I have all the new shiny things, new blogs, new about pages, new packages to work with me. But also you can find me on Instagram at unsocially inclined. And I also have a podcast with a friend, Cassandra, and it's called Business Without the Butts. And we talk about, branding and marketing and doing things like we've been talking about in this whole thing, helping people who help people in a rad way, and building an economy that's like, you know, better for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Monica. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the Smart Women of Business podcast with me, Jane Mackay from Jane Mackay Communications. If you'd like to know more about me, you can head to janemackaycommunications.com.au. I hope you have a beautiful day.